longevity, and endurance. Simply learning, however, was never really enough for Gary. I remember as a college student watching a documentary called Most Dangerous Ways to School, where they highlight children from around the world who trek the most treacherous long distances just to go to school. The Tarahumara children were featured there. And so, although this wasn't the purpose of Gary's visit, he decided to build a small school. And he wasn't alone. From the very beginning, a team of Young Living members and employees embarked on a multi-day journey to hike supplies in to this otherwise inaccessible community and participate in the construction of the school. I'd like to think that there was something about the sacred experience with the Tarahumara that sparked our company's desire to give back everywhere we go. Fast forward just a few years ago, our founder was in Chongon, Ecuador, building out Young Living's Finca Botanica. Yet building Finca was again not enough. Again, he noticed the lack of educational opportunity local children had, and the very few prospects they had for a future and a life outside of extreme poverty. Once again, he built a school. And once again, he wasn't alone. Gary and Mary's desire and vision to provide access to education spread through this worldwide community of Young Living members who may not have been able to physically lay a brick, but started sponsoring children's education and contributing to the construction of our school. Not long after this, tragedy struck Nepal in the form of a 7.8 magnitude earthquake. And yet again, joined by even more of you, Young Living joined the recovery effort by building 100 homes, two women's centers, and restoring 16 schools. Gary called on us to reach the most vulnerable, those living in the shadows, and we stepped up. In 2016, we joined the battle against modern slavery in all its evil forms, contributing from the ground and also from our homes to the rescue, recovery, healing of child victims of forced labor and human trafficking. We traveled to sub-Saharan Africa to fight deadly diseases taking the lives of children. And we expanded further into forgotten indigenous communities throughout Romania, Mexico, Southeast Asia, Canada, and even here in the United States. We ran to provide relief in the wake of disasters, conflicts, and armies, ravaging places like Australia, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. And yet every single time, we've been able to count on you. A different type of army. An army of Young Living members helping us help them. We are collectively living proof that the world's suffering is not beyond our reach to relieve and not beyond our reach to soften, but a human challenge that we can all collectively overcome with our unity and our determination. And we've been rising to that challenge for 30 years. To see the needs around us, but also to listen, to make sure we understand them, to co-create change, and to leave our mark. A mark that has reached over 1.3 million people spread spread throughout hundreds of communities around the world. Just a couple months ago, my colleague Tyler and I decided to journey back to the canyons of Chihuahua, Mexico, to try and find that very first school Gary started building 20 years ago. It took us 3 flights, 7 hours on a train, 6 hours on a pickup truck, and over 10 hours of hiking through the canyons in the northern Mexico desert heat. And honestly, we did not know what to expect. However, we did find it. We found that same Tarahumara community that Gary visited, that special place and people that inspired this powerful ethos of giving back, and a young living mantra of living every place and people better than we found them. The community welcomed us. We spoke to people who still remember Gary, and we needed a translator the whole time to translate from Raramuri to English. And we found the school in that very same spot Gary and that small team of Young Living members and employees laid its first foundation. We spoke to the teacher who said that still today she has one student in the 4th grade who walks 6 hours to get to school, where she sleeps throughout the week and walks back home on the weekends. 20 years later, after his visit, this community still has no access to electricity, no access to running water, and no access to sanitation. On our last day, we met these 2 sisters, Lorena and Angelica. They are the very first in their community and all the surrounding communities to make it past high school and start college. The odds these girls have been able to overcome are absolutely breathtaking. Angelica, who's pictured on the right, said she recently had to take an entire year off to just go to the city and work cleaning to save up enough money to cover her expenses. And just picture them coming from a $2 to $5 a day economy. She'll graduate in a year and a half and she doesn't even own a laptop. Her younger sister Lorena, on the left, says that she almost dropped out of her first year because she said, "I couldn't understand Spanish." Angelica and Lorena told us that they're studying to become teachers because they say there's hardly any trained teachers that speak Raramuri and Spanish to teach in their villages. Before he passed away, our founder, Gary Young, had plans for a leadership fund for higher education, a scholarship fund to help young people attend university, but not just any young people. He wanted to help survivors of adverse and challenging life experiences determined to give back and leave their own mark on the world. And so we put those plans into reality shortly after his passing. As it turns out, Angelica and Lorena happened to attend elementary school. In this initial structure, Gary started 20 years ago. Today, they are the most recent scholarship recipients of the D. Gary Young Leadership Fund for Higher Education, which will ensure that they have all the resources to successfully graduate university and be the very first in their community to earn a college degree. We've heard it said throughout this convention that most shifts start small. Like this simple wooden structure up in the canyons of Mexico. But never for 1 second doubt the miracles you've made possible for hundreds of thousands of people. And from the deepest spaces of my heart, I want to say thank you for 30 years of giving back. And thank you. Thank you. And I'd now like to welcome to the stage Tyler Pollock, Executive Director of Communications for Young Living.